Functions, domain and range. The domain is a set of permissible input values, while the range is a set of output values. In other words, domain are all possible values of our x, and the range are the possible values of y. Example, this mapping. The domain of this function would be -6, -3, 0, and 3, while the range is -1, 0, and 2. Another example, we have here sets of ordered pairs. In the first set, the domain would be -2, 3, 8, and 9, and the range is -3, 2, 4, and 8. The next set, the domain would be 1, 2, 3, and 9, and the range would be -3, 2, and 4. If you notice, even if there are two -3 here, we only need to write -3 once because they are just the same value. Let's try finding the domain and range based on the graphs. To determine the domain in the graph, look at the x-axis and the y-axis for the range. Here we have a line graph. Looking at the x values, the domain would be the set of all real numbers as well as the range. Next example. This graph is a parabola that opens upward. The x values extend on both sides, therefore, the domain would be all real numbers. But for the range, the graph has no values below -4. So, all values of y are above -4. So we write the range as all values of y such that y is greater than or equal to -4. Here we have another parabola, but this time it opens downward. So the domain would be all real numbers. For the range, the graph has no values above 0. Therefore, the range would be all values of y such that y is less than or equal to 0. Next example is a radical function. The x value starts from -3 to the right. So the domain would be all values of x such that x is greater than or equal to -3. And if we look at the y values, it starts from 0 going up. So the range would be all values of y such that y is greater than or equal to 0. Here we have a graph of a rational function. First, let's start with the domain. The graph has a vertical asymptote at x equals 2, which is the broken line. That would mean that the graph will not pass through at x equals 2. Thus, it will not be included in the domain. Now, if you look closely, there is a hollow point in the graph at 3, 2, which means that the x value, which is 3, will be excluded also in the domain. So our domain would be all values of x such that x is not equal to 2 and x is not equal to 3. Next, for the range, there is a horizontal asymptote, which is y equals 1. Then again, it will also be excluded in the range. And the y value of the hollow point is 2. So the range would be all values of your y such that y is not equal to 1 and 2.